WTUG HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station.
One man to beat, you can forget about it. Touchdown, Alabama.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 HD2 Northport. W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take the pass. biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show, also on the Martin Houston Radio Network, on Facebook and YouTube at Martin Houston Live, and on Twitter at Martin Houston 35. We'll replay it on Alabama Tradition, Tide 109, X&O Sports. All of that and more right here on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9. It's a beautiful day. Glad to have you up and at 'em with us on this beautiful morning. It's a true false Thursday with a little recruiting thrown in. Texas A&M fate. What are you hearing, thinking about this game against Texas A&M? Is Bama ready to play? We'll talk a little bit more about Jalen Milroe and more, and get your thoughts and your conversation in. You can do that by calling us at 205-342-9904. That's 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. Or you can chat us up by putting your thoughts in chat, and we'll work it into the conversation. Remember that this is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone. Be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you this morning?
Doing well. Well, we're quickly closing in on what was anticipated to be one of the bigger games of the year, maybe the biggest game of the year in the regular season based on last year's upset and the exchange that happened with Fisher and Saban this summer over NIL, and Jimbo reacting and going all in on check Saban's record. Ask anybody that's been with him. Really, really amazing. When it happened, I thought it was bad. When I re-listened to it, I thought it was even worse. But the reality of it is we sit a couple days out. Is this game true, false? I know the hype around the game is not as big a deal as it was and we thought it would be because of Texas A&M having lost some of their luster with couple losses. Easily could have lost 3 out of 4 of their last games. But will this game still live up to the preseason, off-season hype, revenge factor that we were thinking?
It will for Alabama fans and the Alabama program. Nationally, it's lost a lot of its luster. But what it means to the players and what it means to the fans here, I think it still has every bit of it that it had after those comments were made. And it's still going to be fun to watch regardless.
Yeah, true, false, and Joe, you can jump in on this as well. True, false. Will the loss be as big a revenge factor, or will it be getting their coaches back? True, false. The loss at this point is having. I mean, not the loss. The revenge factor to avenge their coach. It has more motivation for this group than the actual loss does at this point. You there?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I think that I think last year's loss is more of a motivating factor than the comments. Though I do think the comments are pretty equal and big motivating factor. I guess I'll have to give the edge to the loss.
X.
I definitely think it has to do with. I think it's pretty even. I think the loss was what it was, and Bama was going to be fired up for this game anyway. But then you add on the comments, and it just lit a fire under guys who weren't a part of last year's loss and the statements that were made about Saban. And it's just funny to hear Jimbo backtrack this week, talk about how great of a coach Saban is and how much he learned from him and things of that nature. So it's like, come on, man. If you were 5-0, would you still have this energy?
Yeah. And that kind of takes to the next part of the question is if considering the way this season had turned out for A&M, would we be looking at a dud of a game and potentially a more likely upset with Alabama had we not had this off the field issues in terms of the Jimbo Saban thing? So did the Jimbo rant this summer actually help Saban in keeping this team as engaged and focused in terms of this year's game?
I'll say true when you look at the fact of them being 3-2 coming in, same situation as last year, a loss right before, that it's helped keep that fire hot and has the team ready even more. Because now it doesn't matter what the record is. It doesn't matter what the ranking is. It's about, hey, not only did we lose to you, but then you turned around and disrespected us the way you did in the off season. So now we're going to kick your butts for that.
Yeah, Joe, did the offseason rant really is that what's paying dividends for this Alabama team to remain focused in terms of the game? I asked the question, you kind of look different. Ryan, when I was on with Ryan, he was like, "Man, are you worried about this team being like getting too hyped with wanting to avenge the loss and wanting to avenge Saban, etc." And I kind of actually does this get the right amount of intensity versus overkill?
Right now I think it's getting the right amount of intensity because it's not the only people giving it play or the only sound that's. I mean, we've given it play on the radio station this week.
Right.
I feel like Will Anderson is probably more motivated about his poor performance from last season out there than Jimbo's comments. And you know, we the last time those guys really addressed those comments was at SEC Media Days, where Jordan Battle and Will Anderson all kind of said that they would address it and talk on the field on Saturday night. So I think it's getting appropriate level of play. I think Ryan is Ryan sees a devil under every rock, Martin. So he's worried about he's worried about, oh my gosh, could we be overhyped? It's the A&M team that will probably play their best game of the season, but it's going to take their best game and then some, plus Alabama's mistakes to make this a close game, in my opinion. So I think the biggest motivating factor is avenging last year's loss and coming out and continuing the season, getting to what would that be, 6-0? Getting to 6-0 is going to be the most motivating factor.
And I would say that at the beginning of the season, this thing could have gotten like crazy out of hand. But the way A&M has played, first of all, it took some of the luster off because you don't have two undefeated teams. You don't have two top. A&M would be top 5 right now, probably because they were number 6, I think. They'd probably be top 5 had they lived up to their end of the bargain. ESPN Game Day would have been here. Everybody would have been talking about it. And really, like you say, Joe, we're the only ones excited and really looking forward to this game because we do want to see how this team responds in terms of avenging a loss. I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Saban's lost but once in back-to-back years to a coach, and that's Ole Miss and Hugh Freeze. I think that's the only coach that's beat him back-to-back since he's been at Bama. Could be wrong there. Huh?
That's it.
Yeah. So this team is already, used. He's used to getting his team ready when that revenge tour happens. I guess another true false would be, Joe, you referenced it, but when we look at Will Anderson, guys, he's slowly been picking it up, projecting forward. If he goes on a tear like he did after the A&M game last year, what's his numbers? What do you think his numbers will be by the end of the year? Will his
What
numbers
you saying, at
be
5 sacks
last
right
year?
now?
Huh?
He has 5 sacks right now.
5 or 5.5?
So if Bama makes it to another national championship, that's another 10 games. I mean, you could see very similar numbers, if not better, than he had last year. And, he moved up with that half sack against Arkansas. He is now solely in 6th place. His or maybe 7th in SEC history in sacks. And you're talking about not even 2.5 years into his career. Everybody in front of him played 4.
Derek Thomas played 3.
I think he can, realistically, he can end up 3rd all time, potentially tied for 2nd, which is about another 12 or 13 sacks in SEC history. He's not going to catch Derek this year by any means unless he just goes insane. He would have to have another 22 sacks, I think.
Do you know how close, Joe? Do you guys realize how close he was to having what he had? 3 half sacks Saturday or 4? He was so close to having like a 4-game sack, but other guys met him at the ball, met him at the quarterback. So his numbers going into the Arkansas game, did you see how many sacks he had over the last 13 games?
What was it, 19?
19. Think about that for a second. So we're talking about last year in 15 games, him having 17 and a half sacks, but he had and he had what 2 or 3 games this year where he didn't really do anything. So in reality, if you take out of his last 13 games, he probably had 17 sacks in like 10 of them. So because he had a couple where he didn't get any sacks. So he's go ahead.
Sorry, he's 5th now, all time.
5th. Yeah, because he had a really good game Saturday. We'll talk about it on the other side, but does this Will Anderson factor? What's been one of the big things that has really ramped up Will Anderson's productivity of the last couple of games? We'll talk about that on the other side. Got a couple other true false questions maybe not be just A&M, but just to throw it out there, we can talk about it. Also, talking about Jimbo Fisher, his fate. Is he in danger, or should he be in danger of having a hot seat? We'll talk about that. And, of course, we have recruiting with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online. Recruiting coming up in the second half. More conversation right here on the Martin Houston Show. We'd love to invite you to get in on it. 205-342-9904.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we start our Thursday morning with a wreck involving an overturned vehicle on Alabama 216. This is past Milldale Road in Abernathy. Lane blockage and delays, please use caution. Business is booming at Townsend Nissan, and they need help. If you're a people person, go see BJ or Kalen at Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
Tuscaloosa Locksmith sells key remotes, remote fobs, smart keys, car remotes, and Black Rifle coffee. They also do laser engraving. Tuscaloosa Locksmith, just off 15th Street behind the fire station.
Catch Little's Losers Friday nights during Friday Night Live on Tide 100.9, your home of Alabama football, and on the Tide Tailgate Show Saturdays on Tide 100.9. Brought to you by Boatworks in the old L&L Marine Building on Highway 82 West in Northport.
At Lowe's, every pro is an MVP to us. That's why MVP's rewards members can earn bonus points on select products from brands like DeWalt, Purdy paint applicators, and GRK screws. Then redeem your bonus points for exciting rewards like tools, grills, Lowe's gift cards, and more. Join Lowe's MVP's Pro Rewards today to start earning. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Subject to program terms. While supplies last. Visit Lowe's.com/MVP's bonus points for details. Now through 10/28.
It's the Tuscaloosa Community Calendar, powered by Pepsi.
The Coling Baptist Church is hosting a Defend the Orphans Kickball Tournament fundraiser on Saturday, October 15th at Coling Ballpark. It all starts at 9 in the morning. Everyone can participate, have fun, and help meet the needs of orphans and foster children at the same time. All proceeds go to Defend the Orphans Ministry to benefit foster children and international orphans. For all the details, 205-556-2775.
See America in your new Burton Campers RV. Be certain with Burton. Burton Campers at exit 231 on I-65 in Calera. Nobody sells RVs for less.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Another beautiful day today. The sky sunny, afternoon highs in the lower 80s, around 82. Skies clear tonight with an overnight low of 52. For tomorrow, a good supply of sunshine, a daytime high of 83. And a little bit cooler for the weekend, but the sky is sunny both days, highs between 75 and 78. I'm meteorologist Bill Murray on Tide 100.9.
It's 46 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Softmark Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmarkdesign.com.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back in with the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. It's Martin and Xavier, and we are talking true, false, Alabama football. Just a quick sidebar before we get back to the Alabama, Texas A&M questions. Guys, and I did not get a chance to check for an update. A.J. McCarron working out for the Giants. Is this A.J. McCarron's last hurrah and opportunity to maybe even get an opportunity to start again in the NFL?
I say it probably is. He's 31, about to be 32 years old. Hasn't played since 2020 now at this point. after tearing his ACL last preseason. So, yeah, I think this is probably the last chance he gets. And if it doesn't work out, whatever ventures he's in now or what he wants to pursue in the future, it's probably time to start making those plans.
Joe?
Well, he's worked out for the Browns. He's worked out for the Browns, the 49ers, and now the Giants this year. So I do think this is probably his last year getting workouts. His days of getting a chance to start in the NFL are long gone. But it just depends on the injury situations with the rest of the starting quarterbacks in the league. It seems like he's still getting considered for workouts, so he's still right on that fringe. Maybe he can get picked up and cash in a few game checks this year.
Yeah, the Giants may be a good fit for him. I think Jones is a little more athletic than AJ, but I think it would be what my thoughts were, guys. I was like, man, wouldn't it be really neat in this season of the Alabama quarterbacks that if AJ were to get a chance to play, I think he's probably going to get picked up potentially by the Giants with the Dayball connection to Alabama, et cetera, and all that. Maybe he gets picked up, but wouldn't it be neat to maybe see him get an opportunity to start a few games? And because he kind of started this whole Alabama quarterbacks at least getting a chance to start in the pros again, even though it didn't go as long and as well. I think back to that moment when Hugh Jackson with the Cleveland Browns and that organization botched the trade for AJ, thinking that someone else had taken care of the paperwork, and he ended up being stuck with the Bengals, and then it's been a journeyman tour since then. But any thoughts on that before we transition?
No, yeah. I mean, he worked with Dayball in Buffalo the year that they drafted Josh Allen, so they have that connection and that familiarity with each other. So I think New York is his best shot. They were down to Saquon Barkley taking Wildcat snaps Sunday after Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor both got hurt. So I think this is the one opportunity that he's really got to make an impact if he's going to get another one.
All right, Joe. Anything else on that before I bring in Todd?
No, I hope he has. I hope he gets picked up. It'd be great to get him back in the league.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun to watch him in the league, and like I said, maybe get a start in what would definitely in Martin Houston's lifetime the highlight of Alabama quarterbacks in the league. Of course, I do remember when I was younger. Of course, the Snake and Todd and of course Rutledge, huh?
Namath.
And I don't remember Namath. Ain't that old? All right, son. But I do remember Snake.
After you were born,
huh?
He played for a while after you were born.
I didn't say he didn't. I said I don't remember him playing that much. I remember Snake, and that's what's interesting. We got a Snake. We got a lefty in this crew too with Tua. So. But yeah, it'd be fun to see him get a little bit of that love since he kind of helped start this whole Alabama quarterbacks can actually play in the NFL. So we'll see what happens. We got Todd on the line. Todd, you're in with the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Oh man, great show, guys, and good morning. I just wanted to say. There's just one thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way is, when we call this a revenge game or a revenge season, I go back to what the scripture says, the Lord says, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, I will repay." So, I just thank God that, Bama's got leaders like Milroe will go into that tent, and love on his brother when he's down and he wants to come back into the game so bad, and he goes out there and performs the way he did. And so those young guys, they got leaders like that are, and I don't believe that, this team is going into this as a revenge. I believe it's motivation, because what motivated me to buy tickets for this game was my son Zach and I. We usually scope the schedule out. We live over in Georgia. He lives up in Northern Virginia, and so we'll pick out a game. And Texas A&M was it. We picked it out, way early. And if you look on StubHub, it's the most expensive game to buy right now. So that loss has motivated the fans to come, and I can't wait to hear that jet airplane up there at the 50-yard line. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, hey, I can tell you as a player, it is in the back of your mind, as a revenge, because my last, you want to know what my last loss was in college?
What's that?
35-0 to Florida in the swamp. So don't think that when we were playing in that SEC championship game, even though we were playing for a championship, it still in the back of our mind was we want to avenge that loss. We want to make sure that that's not the way we're remembered. And this team, even though they have a lot more going than the A&M team, Todd, they definitely don't want to lose to this group again. So definitely a revenge factor. But the other part is they got a lot to play for, especially my other true-false question that I had is, will Jalen Milroe be the starter despite how we hear Saban talking?
Yeah,
I'm waiting on. I was gonna let Todd answer it first.
Saban's saying Young is day to day, and I believe what he's saying is day to day. They're probably working him out. I wish I could see the practices, but they're going to do everything they can do to get Young in there. But I think Saban does a great job at looking at that young man's future over this game. And he's seen what his backup guy can do, and it's just a reminder of what was going on with Jalen and Tua, just a few years back, where they were back and forth, and it's so awesome for Bama to be so strong at the quarterback position to where, man, it didn't really fall off, and the fans got to see a lot of runs, man. So, I'm looking forward to seeing the backup guy come on in, but if Young is healthy and it's not going to hinder him in any way, shape, fashion, or form in his future, which is so bright. I think Saban's doing the right thing, and I believe I'm praying that Young can get on back in there and play and contend for the Heisman again, because it would be so awesome to have him to get 2 in a row. There's only one man that's done that, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Running back.
So, yeah. So. I'm excited to see. I'm coming to Alabama to watch this game. I want to see Young play, but on the other hand, I want to see Milroe play because, man, he's serving the Lord, and man, I believe he's going to do great things if he gets to start. So it's going to be very interesting.
Well, all right. Well, Todd, we appreciate that. Safe travels over from Georgia, and your son from, I think you said, Virginia. Safe travels over, and give us a on the field, blow by blow next week of what you saw with this Crimson Tide team. Thank you, sir.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. All right, guys, we'll do some recruiting next, and then we'll circle back around to the Jalen Milroe. Is Saban keeping A&M guessing? Is there any possible chance that Bryce Young plays Saturday? If he plays, will it be because Milroe couldn't handle the job? Do you think there's any way, especially with what happened, does the running Tua back out there have any play in the mindset of the coaching staff and the media when dealing with Bryce Young? We'll talk about that after we talk a little recruiting with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting, up next. Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
Everybody loves Taco Casa. Everything we do in our store, we prepare in our store. We hand cut all of our tomatoes. We block and shred our own cheese here in the store. So we still hand cut our chips, our sopapillas, our taco shells, our chimalupa bowls. Our chili takes about 4 to 6 hours to make every single day. The goal in that is to provide the freshest, best quality to our customers. So we just look at it as, hey, basically, we're your kitchen. You're just coming to eat in your kitchen. Taco Casa, under the biggest cactus in town.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
By now, you know that sound. It's the sound of the Home Depot. But what about those sounds? Those are the sounds of craft ice from a new LG refrigerator, cooling your drink to perfection. Making this the sound of savings on top brand appliances. Save up to $1,212 on this exclusive LG kitchen package with craft ice. At the Home Depot, how doers get more done. Offer valid September 29th through October 19th. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to get conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with Awakening. The team and I would like to invite you to this monthly community-wide praise and worship service featuring intimate worship and powerful preaching of God's word. Please join us at the link that's 610 Watermelon Road, Northport, Alabama, or watch online at Empowerment Ministries on Facebook. That's Awakening, powered by Empowerment Ministries, the third Thursday every month at 6:30 p.m. Please pray for us and join us if you can.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. And before we move into the second half, we have to give a shout out to Cup of Joe. Happy birthday, Joe. How you doing, man?
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm doing good.
What's that magic number today?
12.
12. All right. 12.
33.
33. Well, everybody that's listening right now, make sure y'all flood Cup of Joe at 11 o'clock with happy birthday wishes. So, but seriously, happy birthday, man. Everybody got that special day, and the day is yours. So
thank you so much, man. I appreciate you mentioned. Thank you.
Absolutely. X, I'll talk to you, sir.
All right, and as it was said, happy birthday, Joe. But now we are joined by Hank South of 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting, one of the best follows in the game. Good morning, Hank. How are you?
Hey, good morning. I'm good. How are y'all?
Doing good. So it's finally here, Alabama versus Texas A&M, and we know this is the biggest week of visits that Alabama has had so far, who all is coming into town.
Yeah, it's kind of the weekend, or it's been the weekend we've been talking about really since the spring. Is kind of the marquee game of the fall, home game of the fall, at least in terms of visitors. We'll see what the Iron Bowl brings, but yeah, biggest one so far, and the list isn't disappointing. The biggest name is Keon Keely, in terms of ranking at least, the 5-star edge rusher from Tampa. He is expected in for his official visit, and it's kind of been that long-awaited official visit. He took that unofficial trip over to Tuscaloosa for the Champions Cookout at the end of July, and that's kind of where things started trending more towards Bama. He was committed to Notre Dame at the time. He has since decommitted from Notre Dame, and it looked like it was Bama's recruitment to lose. I think that's maybe still the case, probably still the case, but since that time, he's been to Ohio State twice, once on an official visit and then again on an unofficial visit. So the Buckeyes are making it a little bit more interesting than it was at first. So that's one we're keeping an eye on. But Bama has this weekend to kind of maybe take back any momentum it potentially had been taken away by the Buckeyes. So Keon Keely, that's one we are circling and watching. Another 5-star official visitor is Deuce Robinson, who's the number 1 tight end in the country. Haven't really talked a lot about him. It hasn't really, we haven't been really sure how much Bama's been involved for him. I know USC has some confidence. Texas has been in heavy for him. But, the fact that he's taking an official visit is certainly something to keep an eye on. So maybe he's one that Bama takes a step forward for this weekend when he gets in town from Phoenix, Arizona. So a little bit of a trek, but Deuce Robinson is another 5-star. And that's it in terms of 5-star official visitors so far. Cormani McClain was expected early on, or even earlier this week. We had him on our expected list, and we're told his visit this weekend is not going to happen this weekend. I think there's going to be an official visit later in the fall for him. So that was a little bit of a change, but beyond that, a lot of the commitments back in town, most of the Alabama commitments back in town, several high-profile unofficial visitors, whether it be Kelby Collins, the Florida commit. That's a big one, certainly. We've been waiting for since he committed to the Gators over Alabama back in the summer. We'll see how involved or how much interest he's still showing in Alabama with this visit. Dave Hobbs, another big defensive line target. He's going to be on an unofficial visit, and then he's going to be back in 2 weeks for an official visit during the Mississippi State game. Jaron Hamilton, a receiver from Florida. Centurion Perkins, the Ole Miss linebacker commit. It's almost a bigger unofficial visitors weekend in terms of 2023 targets, numbers-wise. So, it's going to be a loaded weekend. I'm sure more kids will join this visitors list. There's a lot of high-profile underclassmen as well. But yeah, it'll certainly be a big turnout, no doubt.
Awesome. And when you look at something interesting else that's happening this weekend, Quay Russaw and James Smith out of Carver and Montgomery, they're actually going to the Alabama A&M game versus Jackson State. And we saw last year with Travis Hunter and Kevin Nolan, 2 very high-profile recruits going to Jackson State. Is there any chance that an Alabama and A&M who's in their top 5 or a Jackson State could make a play for them, or are they really looking just for the experience?
Which game are they going to, X?
The Alabama A&M Jackson State game.
No, yeah. I think it. I don't think that's going to be a situation where we saw with Travis Hunter going to Jackson State or Kevin Coleman or those guys going. But I think they're interested in it. Obviously, it's a hometown school. I think they're just. It's more kind of a, they're showing some respect to their top 6, I guess, in checking out Alabama State for a game. Or like a courtesy visit, I guess. I don't think it's going to be that kind of situation. Everyone was kind of freaking out, why aren't they coming to Alabama for this game this weekend? Well, they're in town for the Vandy game. They're going to be back in 2 weeks of the Mississippi State game. They're probably going to visit for the Iron Bowl, and then they're going to take an official visit in December. So I think one game weekend where they're not showing up isn't a huge issue in terms of their time or their visit schedule.
And let me interrupt right here quick. Exactly. I also think Hank, this kind of can also talk about what we were talking about earlier. This game has lost some of its luster in terms of the matchup itself. And you have to understand from an experience standpoint, SWAC, does have a lot to do. And there's no telling how many family members and different people are probably coming into Montgomery for that. And Dion is bringing his own game day experience pretty much. People wanting to see Dion. I mean, so I think it's probably, like you said, as much about the experience of being a part and family and friends. And there's no telling. They probably got 100 tickets. No, I know they can't, but I you know what I'm saying. There's no telling what's going on there. But it's I would not worry too much about those guys in that. But hey, who knows?
Yeah, no doubt. I think Bama's done a really good job with them. I think they're where they need to be with both Quay Rousseau and James Smith right now. And again, we've been saying this since the summer. There's going to be twists and turns with these guys. They're going to take visits elsewhere. There's going to be momentum. There's going to be buzz that another school has the edge. But I think in the long run, Bama's done the best job so far, at least. With Charles Kelly, Freddie Roach, Pete Golding, obviously Nick Saban's very involved for both of these guys. So I think they're the team to beat when all is said and done. But again, they're not announcing any decisions until the early signing period. So still got to watch it. Still got to watch where they visit. But I think Bama's in good shape right now.
All right, we're in with Hank South at 247 Sports and Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, I've noticed something that is started to become a trend. We've seen it at SMU now and at Auburn with guys saying, hey, I'm going to take a red shirt, pretty much asking / demanding for it. And now they're going to that's something that's happening. What impact does that have on recruiting and potential roster management down the road?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, how that impacts things. I could certainly see that starting to become more of a trend. That was kind of the big thing a few years ago with Bama with, it wasn't like, to what's happening at SMU, but I think, what was it? Jalen Hurts was, if he had played he ended up playing more than 4 games, to help Bama out before he transferred to Oklahoma. So that was kind of a situation where that came. But how it plays into recruiting, there's just like so many different variables at this point where the transfer portal can play into recruiting, the 4-game redshirt rule, all this different stuff. I think you kind of just have to take it as it comes. I'm not sure you could pinpoint, this is exactly how it's going to affect things. But it's going to probably factor in occasionally, or eventually with Bama. I think we'll whether it becomes public or not. Whether we see a kid could privately say behind closed doors, that they would, or talk to Coach Saban or talk to the staff and make the decision that they don't want to play, but maybe they're not going to make it as public as guys at SMU have made it. So yeah, I'm not really sure how it's going to impact recruiting, but numbers are going to come into play. With the signing cap kind of lifted this year over 25 and below the 85, there's going to be more guys signing at schools, and there's going to need to be more kind of roster attrition in terms of guys looking elsewhere to make room for incoming people. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how, if that kind of has if that becomes more of a trend in college football this year or going forward. But yeah, definitely an interesting little tidbit in this kind of new era of college football.
Yeah, speaking of Hank South, we need to get to Pat X. Let me get to Pat. But speaking of that, Aaron Anderson is one of those guys that we actually had a caller down in New Orleans tell us that he's already heard rumors that Anderson is looking to come back if he doesn't play, looking to come back to the state. So we'll watch that and see if that pans out to be true. But before we go on, we need to get to Pat. Pat, you're on with Hank South, 247 Sports Bama Online Recruiting on the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Morning, Hank. I would like to talk a little bit about is Dabo going to have to, how do you say, walk it back with Peter Woods potentially taking an official visit to Alabama? What do you think?
I've been checking on this because I know everyone's wondering about Peter Woods, and I spoke to his dad earlier this week, and he said there are no plans to take any visits to Tuscaloosa this year, whether that be official or unofficial. Obviously, that could change, but I think he told me they're going to watch Alabama smash Texas A&M from home. So,
okay.
I don't think it's an issue yet, but if it comes down to it, we'll see. It'll put Dabo kind of put his feet to the fire if Peter Woods does decide he wants to take an official visit.
One more quick question. Yeah. We need a really big defensive lineman, Davis out of JUCO in Mississippi. What's the latest?
Yeah, he's a real quiet kid. He might actually visit this weekend. He hasn't decided one way or the other yet. So Bama's, I think they're probably in his top three. But in terms of are they the leader? I wouldn't put him in the class just yet. But we'll see. He's the only JUCO target they have left outside of their commits. And if he shows up this weekend, maybe we'll get a better gauge of how involved Bama actually is. But there is definitely mutual interest. So he's a defensive line target to watch.
Yeah, I was going to say he's a 300-plus pounder that can go. All right, hey, y'all have a blessed day. Thank y'all for taking my call. Bye bye.
Thanks, Hank. Before Xavier wraps up, Hank, does Peter Woods even have to take an official visit to end up in this class at Alabama?
Yeah, that's a good question. He's been to Bama 50-plus times throughout his high school career. He doesn't really need to. It could be one of those things where Jihad Campbell last year was committed to Clemson up until the last weekend of before the early signing period, and he did end up taking an official visit. He hadn't been to Tuscaloosa really near the level, obviously, as Peter Woods, but it could be a situation where change of heart last minute. That's what they want to do. He hasn't shown that yet. Obviously, Clemson's playing really well. They have a lot of buzz and excitement. So, we'll kind of revisit that as we get closer to the early signing period. But, I think he's pretty locked in with Clemson for now.
All right. Thanks, Hank, for joining us on this Thursday. You join us every Thursday. Hank South at 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and happy birthday, Joe, as well. I didn't even know when we talked on the phone. But BamaOnline.com or Twitter at HankSouth247. Obviously have a ton of visitors content, ton of team content from all our guys on the site. So definitely a good time to join.
All right, that's Hank South of 247 Sports and Bama Online Recruiting, the best follow in the game. You have a good one, Hank.
Thanks, y'all too.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa Thread.
Good Thursday morning. No action has been taken by the Tuscaloosa County Commission on bids for sewer improvements at homes. According to the Tuscaloosa County Commission, inflation blamed for driving up estimated cost well over $680,000 above initially budgeted for the project. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your flower beds pop, make your landscaping stand out from your neighbors, then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help you do just that. They have numerous styles, but they feature the Moroccan Stone Curb series, which includes 4 great styles and unlimited color choices. That's Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. They are the one that can help you stand out from your neighbors. Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing, 205-331-6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help with that as well. Paul Fuller and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. And if you tell them that Martin Houston with the Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. So call Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing at 205-331-6823 or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing LLC.
It's the Tuscaloosa Community Calendar, powered by Pepsi.
Join the Tuscaloosa, Alabama Links chapter for Links in Pink, a breast cancer awareness event on Saturday, October 15th, virtually on Zoom, starting at 10 in the morning. This session, the presenters will focus on mammogram early detection. The Zoom meeting ID is 869-0625-9186, and the passcode is 023548. For more details, log on to TuscaloosaALLinksINC.org.
Tuscaloosa Locksmith sells key remotes, remote fobs, smart keys, car remotes, and Black Rifle coffee. They also do laser engraving. Tuscaloosa Locksmith, just off 15th Street behind the fire station.
It's the Tuscaloosa Community Calendar, powered by Pepsi.
The Literacy Council of West Alabama serves 9 counties by getting books into the hands of children and adults, encouraging students to read, write, and stay in school, providing community resources and role models, and encouraging adults to get their GED. Please check out their newest little libraries at U-Perk Coffee Shop, Catch a Taste Restaurant, and Haycourt Apartments in Tuscaloosa. The Literacy Council of West Alabama serves 9 counties by getting books into the hands of children and adults.
Hey there, folks. Head fry cook Bob Baumhauer here, and I just want to say thank you for allowing Baumhauer's Victory Grill to serve you for 40 legendary years. When I first delivered Alabama's first taste of buffalo wings back in 1981, people thought I was crazy. For the first few years, I had to give wings away. Imagine that. 40 years later, I'm still proud to serve the great people and visitors of Alabama, our famous buffalo wings, and much more. Here's to 40 years of legendary fun, legendary food, and many, many more.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
You're back in with the Martin Houston Show on this True False Thursday, as well as the little recruiting with Hank South 247 Sports. Big weekend set for the Alabama Crimson Tide. A couple big names, biggest of which is Keely, the young man who was committed to Notre Dame, but looking at the Crimson Tide as a possible suitor for his skill set over the next 3 to 4 years. Is the way we're playing defense going to help him make that decision this weekend? We'll be watching it. Ohio State in the mix right now, but I think Alabama closes the deal on that young man. We're doing a little true false, and before we went to recruiting, and one of those questions was regarding Jalen Milroe and Bryce Young. True false, Jalen Milroe will, without a doubt, be the starter Saturday.
I'm going to go true.
Yeah, I'll go true as well. I feel it in my gut.
Yeah. Is Saban?
I think Bryce will be ready
Huh?
in case, but I definitely think Milroe gets the start in the first opportunity.
Do you think that the Tua situation in any way impacts this decision to at least not start Bryce coming off of that injury? Is that in the back of Saban and this staff's mind with whether or not they play or start Bryce Young?
Are you talking about the situation from last week or the situation when he was at Alabama?
Last week, the injury situation.
I'm not so sure that the last week has an impact, just simply for the fact that it was a concussion, it was a brain injury, something like that, versus a shoulder that you know what it is and you can see it a lot easier and understand it a lot easier. So I'm not sure if that has an impact as much as some people might think it does.
Yeah, I'll say false as well. I think that I don't think it has any bearing on Bryce Young and how he's treating this week's game.
I I would probably say a little bit of true. I think now, is it going to impact it? I think if this was a mission critical game and Miro had not shown so well, without a doubt, I think it's in the back of his mind. Because even though it's not a concussion, the reality of it is um, the concussion is not as close to a career-ending thing necessarily as Bryce messing up a rotator cuff or messing up his labrum or anything. That has a greater impact on Bryce Young's potential future as much as a concussion could on Tua's immediate future. And of course, concussion could, of course, always have great impact down the road. I think what they're doing, if what they're telling us is true, I think that regardless, they would start Jalen Milroe. And if Jalen handles his business, then kudos, right? But the question becomes, let's say Bryce isn't as far along as they think. How ready is Ty Simpson in terms of being ready? Cam Tim asked us, had we talked to any about Ty Simpson? Because the reality of it is, if Bryce is not ready in that AC thing, because all it's going to take is he could be ready in one throw, one hit, one fall, one try to protect himself against the ground, and he's right back out. How close y'all think Ty Simpson is to being ready to help this team win?
I think if Jalen Milroe isn't ready to help this team win, I'm not sold on if Ty is at all either. Just for the simple fact of, from what we understand and what we've seen, Jalen has been the clear number 2. He's taken all of those reps and done all of that work. And I think this week you're probably looking at a very heavy workload for him with the starters, and probably any of the other work is going into Bryce, just with the possibility of him being needed. So, I mean, I'm not so sure if Ty would be able to come in and do. Now, it's not a talent thing. It's more of an experience thing. And this situation, this game, regardless of Texas A&M's record, I think can have an impact on if we see Ty at all.
Hey, Joe, let me ask you this. Do you think that and of course, my question was if Bryce is not ready and we're being told what we're being told because Saban wants A&M preparing for Bryce, do you think that Ty has gotten some reps with one this week just in case?
I think he's probably gotten the reps that Jalen would have gotten as the 2 in normal circumstances. I bet you Bryce hasn't gotten a whole lot of reps this week.
Yeah, that's the thing with his arm. It's like you have to rest it. So how many reps could he get? Let me ask you this question for both of you real quick before we got guys. With Ty coming in, could this offense, because just because Jalen doesn't work, they could be set up to stop the run. Does Ty become kind of that change up guy that Tua was for Jalen, or and then Jalen was for Tua? If Jalen Milroe is the guy and struggles,
I don't see a massive difference in their gameplay. I mean, Ty was a very high dual threat quarterback coming out as well. I mean, is he ready arm wise? Is he that much more advanced arm wise than Jalen, if at all, when you really look at it?
I guess due to time, Mr. Producer, I guess I better get out of here so I don't get in trouble. Let's pick that conversation up tomorrow. Is Ty and Jalen Milroe the same player or not? Or is Ty probably a good fit somewhere right between Bryce and Jalen? So we'll talk about that tomorrow, as well as get players of the game, get your thoughts on who's going to be the breakout player. Will this defense live up to the hype? And will Bama under Jalen Milroe cover? We'll talk about that and more on the Martin Houston Show. I'm Martin Houston. That's Xavier Houston. That's Joe Gaither. Happy birthday, Joe. Thanks to everybody out there. Trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. Always acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.